I love booze, I love it in me, I love it on me, especially during the autumn. I've got some recommendations for you, and since this isn't a whiskey channel, it's a fragrance channel, I'm going to recommend my best boozy fragrances that I love to wear in the autumn. There's just something about wearing a boozy fragrance in the autumn, the warming, comforting, cozy vibes that it gives you. It's also because the autumn is just a great time for drinking a dram of whiskey. Sitting by a roaring fire somewhere in the autumn, the leaves are falling outside, maybe there's a little bit of a storm going on, and you're sitting cozy drinking a whiskey. And wearing boozy fragrances evokes the imagery of all that. We also have the added benefit that boozy fragrances tend to be pretty sexy. Some of the best boozy fragrances are niche fragrances because in the niche world they're prepared to just push things a little further, make things a little more complex, a little more interesting, perhaps a bit more statement making, but that's not always the case. In this list I've got a mix of designer and niche, and I'm starting with a designer. This is quite a recent one, but it has quickly become one of my favourite boozy fragrances. This is Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privé. Whiskey is the booze in this. We've also got a lovely powdery iris and woods. And if that all wasn't autumnal enough, there's some chestnut in here. The chestnut and the woods give it the depth, give it that autumnal quality, give it some complexity and a little bit of attitude. But we've got this beautiful warming whiskey, and I'm gonna say it's not the most realistic whiskey note that I've ever smelled in a fragrance. Some of the other ones have definitely a more realistic whiskey, but that doesn't matter. There's still a really nice hint of a sweet mellow whiskey in here, combined with that beautiful lipsticky powdery iris. Givenchy just got it all so right with this one. Performance is good, smells refined. I could wear this as a casual daytime scent or a formal scent. It's satisfying, it's uplifting, it's classy, it's sexy. This is a great designer boozy scent for autumn. Another boozy designer fragrance, this one's from Dior. One of their best-selling fragrances of all time is Fahrenheit. They decided to autumnify it when they made Fahrenheit Le Parfum. Rum is the tipple in this one. We've also got some vanilla and violet leaf. Definitely get some of that punchy, masculine, petroleum type smell of Fahrenheit in this, but they've taken the edges off it. They've rounded things out, they've made it smoother, they've added the rum and the vanilla so you get a little bit of warmth, a bit of creaminess. Lovely and cozy for a cold autumn day, the rum really warming things up. But it's not just a soft fragrance, this has still got that attitude, that very masculine attitude that the original Fahrenheit has. So it balances really nicely, even better, I think, than the original Fahrenheit. It makes it a little more likable, it's a bit sweeter. You've got the Fahrenheit balanced with the rum and the vanilla. Great combination, it works super well in the autumn. One of my favourite all-time boozy fragrances coming up next. This is from one of my favourite niche houses, Nasamato. We've got Bronda. To me, this one is a smooth, mellow, creamy whiskey scent with a delightful woody depth. Easygoing, but still with an assured confidence. So this is less about that pure smell of whiskey and more like the smell of a whiskey oak barrel, the inside of an oak barrel that's had whiskey in it for 30 years, maybe even longer. Very smooth, very mellow. You might think that it's a flatter fragrance, that it's not punchy enough because of that description, but I think there's some rose in here which just elevates it, just adds a slight little bit of spikiness, just something which lifts it and brings it off the skin more. This projects quite well, and when I wear it, it lasts a long time as well. No problems with performance. It's not a room filler, but it's definitely going to be getting noticed when people come quite close to you. I've worn this as a daytime casual scent and it works fantastically well in the autumn. Well, I guess any time of year really, but it really shines in the autumn. But Bronda for me is a dressed up formal occasion, autumn, daytime, evening, maybe a daytime autumn wedding. This would be absolutely magnificent. Boozy Bronda, one of the best boozy autumnal fragrances in my collection. I find it hard to make fragrance videos and not include Tommy Ford fragrances. So the Tommy Ford that we've got working for us in this video is, of course, one of their best in the private blend, Tobacco Oud. A lovely dram of whiskey. You might be quite surprised to learn there's tobacco in here. Spices, cinnamon is quite prominent, and a little bit of incense. Tobacco is one of my favorite fragrance notes. Booze is one of my favorite fragrance notes. This has both. The whiskey in this is quite smooth and sweet. It does smell more like smelling whiskey straight from a bottle rather than the oak whiskey cask of Baronda, but I think that makes it a little punchier, and it is a very punchy fragrance. We've got some oud in here as well, some powerful woods. There's a strong, powerful engine driving this one. A true statement maker from Thomas Ford. This is one I would choose to wear formally. I've worn this plenty of times in the autumn and the winter, actually, for formal occasions. You're dressed up, you're looking sharp, spray on a bit of tobacco oud, you are feeling so good, so confident. This is a fragrance that will make you feel like a boss. Back to a designer fragrance, and unfortunately this one is a discontinued designer fragrance. It's Pure Malt from Mugler. Of all the fragrances in this list, this is the most fun and playful take on a boozy scent. Although this is a designer fragrance, I would say that it probably smells more niche. It doesn't smell very designery. It does have those designer elements of it being very mass appealing, very easy to wear. So it's a boozy scent that is completely unique. I've worn this on autumn nights out and it works brilliantly because it projects, it lasts. It's got quite a nice bit of complexity considering it's a designer mass appealing fragrance, so it balances those two things really well. Such a shame that you can't buy this one anymore. If you did want to get your hands on something extremely close to this, some people will say exactly the same, then I have Perfume Parlour's version. I've always been very impressed with that. So because you can't buy this from Mugler anymore, if you want to have the Pure Malt experience, go to Perfume Parlour, they will sort you out. Pure Malt is pure autumn. This is a boozy autumn stunner. So we've come to the time in the list where I'm going to talk about my favourite fragrance of all time. If you know my channel, you know that this is Roger Parfum's Enigma. The booze is cognac. There's also a creamy vanilla. This is kind of like a cola float with added cognac. You know, whenever I talk about this fragrance in a fragrance video, I often say it's my favorite fragrance of all time. And I think, is it that because I smelled it so early on that it blew me away, that it gave me that experience that is so rare these days, where we smell something so different that our senses struggle to comprehend it, and the stimulation comes from that because it kind of blows our minds. Maybe if I had smelled this further down the line, like if it was a new release this week and I just smelled it, would it impress me as much? So I have these questions in my mind, and whenever I do question it, I just take the lid off, I spray it, and I go no. The reason this is my favorite fragrance of all time is because it is amazing. It just vibes with me so much. It's strong, it's rich, it's sophisticated, it smells luxurious. It's a masterpiece. I've had so many wonderful experiences wearing this fragrance. One of the best that comes to mind is one of my friends got married in the Lake District in October. It was autumn. I wore this fragrance. I loved it before then. I think I loved it even more since then because I created this extra scent memory. Every time I wear it, it's a fantastic experience. If you love a bit of booze in your fragrance, or if you just love amazing masterpiece fragrances, give Enigma a try if you haven't already. On to the final fragrance of this video, and I've decided to save this till last because it's the most recent release and I am loving this. I spent a lot of money on this fragrance, but I'm glad I did because it is fantastic. From Kilian, it's Old Fashioned. This is an exquisite single malt whiskey with some warming spices and a whole bunch of class. Class in a glass, if you will. It does smell like a single malt whiskey. I'm not sure how close to the actual smell of an old-fashioned drink it is. I think maybe it is closer to a dram of whiskey than the old-fashioned, but it doesn't really matter that much. I really enjoy that this isn't just a boozy smell. There's lots of depth, there's woods, there's spices, there's a nice complexity to it, but it's got this great backbone. There's something in here that creates this strong, robust backbone. It might be that the whiskey accord that they've used for this isn't just a smooth, mellow, easygoing whiskey. It's got a little bit of kick to it, almost like a bit more of a peaty whiskey. I'd like to say that because this is such an expensive fragrance that I would only wear this for special occasions, for formal occasions, maybe evening events, that type of thing. But it is actually quite an easy wear, especially in the autumn with the cooler temperatures. And I've found myself wearing this in the daytime because I love the smell so much. It's got a little bit of an addictive quality. So I've been wearing it in the daytime as a casual autumnal scent. I've been wearing it in the evenings. This is going to get a whole lot of wear through the autumn. I may also wear Angel Share a bit. I really enjoy Angel Share. There's a cognac note in that rather than whiskey that's in here. Angel Share is much louder, it's much brasher, it's sweeter, it's creamier. It's perhaps just a little more cloying. This is definitely not. This is a much cleaner scent. It's not as sickly sweet as Angel Share. This is a superb addition to Kilian's Liquors collection. There you go, some of my best boozies. What do you think of my selection? Are there any amazing ones that I've missed off this list that are on my shelf here and they've just got pushed to the back and I've forgotten all about them? Or maybe I don't have them in my collection. So if you've got any boozy fragrances that you'd like to recommend to me, drop those down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, you know what to do. Give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do all that, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.